Good morning for WGRV. This is Reid Seals. I'm here with Greene County Mayor Kevin Morrison for our monthly interview. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Reid.
And my first question is, what are the next steps for the resolution to make the Clerk and Master position an elected position?
Well, as you know, and you were there on Monday evening, the County Commission essentially requested from our state representatives and state senator a resolution or to begin to take action on making the Clerk and Master position an elected position. The Clerk and Master position is a constitutional officer actually written into the Constitution. So the next steps for that is for the members of the House of Representatives, Representative Hawk and Faison, would have to introduce a bill into the legislature to begin to actually amend the Constitution for the state. If that process goes through the legislature, Senator Steve Sutherland then would be required to introduce a similar bill or similar legislation into the Senate to amend the Constitution, and then all of that would have to be reconciled at the legislature level through numerous committees, I'm sure. And if it made the ballot, then it would have to make the ballot for the next governor's election in 2022, and then the people would be able to vote on whether we're going to amend the Constitution or not, and then it would become an official amendment, and the Clerk and Master position, then if it made it all the way through that process, would become an elected position.
And why were the resolutions about the Clerk and Master appeal pulled on Monday?
Well, there was a couple of reasons. First, for Mr. Bowers' resolution to seek to end the lawsuit. Essentially, Robert's Rules of Order, which was adopted by the County Commission as sort of the procedure that we go by, essentially says that once action is taken on a resolution or a motion, in this case the expenditure of money or the expenditure of the taxpayer dollars toward that endeavor, then it can't be reconsidered. Or it can't be reconsidered in the process that it's in. Now, once the appeal is heard, if it is the desire of the full legislative body to then reconsider and stop the lawsuit at that particular point, in other words, there's sort of natural breaks along the way. The example that I could give would be, for instance, if the legislative body decided to buy, say, computers, and one of the members or several of the members decided they didn't want computers. If the full body passed the measure to purchase the computers and the check was essentially written and the computers were ordered, then at the following meeting, it would be out of order or inappropriate for a member to bring up, well, we don't want to purchase computers because action has been taken, money has been spent toward that endeavor. So, and that's the similar way that it is for this lawsuit. So we're more or less sort of locked into going through the appeal process and seeing what the result is from the appeal process. The second resolution introduced by Commissioner Lawing was essentially a written point of order to that effect. The old commission at the August 20th meeting essentially reaffirmed or approved going forward with the appeal. And then when I took office in September and the new commissioners came on board, 8 of which we had another vote in September, and then the motion or the resolution to continue with the appeal was actually sustained at a much greater vote. So the old members got to establish the direction, the new members got to establish the direction. So the rules that we follow basically says once you establish a direction, then that's the direction you have to go until such time as there's a break, and then you can reconsider. So now wasn't that time, and that's the reason those resolutions were pulled.
At the Insurance Committee on Monday, cybersecurity was discussed. What is Greene County doing to protect from a cyber attack?
Well, that is definitely, here in the 21st century, a weakness that nearly every business, every government has identified as a hole in the armor, so to speak. What Greene County is doing, we currently have more or less a patchwork of firewalls and cybersecurity. What I would like to see going forward, as well as a lot of organizations. I know Greenville Light and Power has their own IT people. The Greenville school system, Greenville City School System has their own IT people. Greene County does not. And what I would like to see is that, not more or less a department, but that activity consolidated into with one person responsible for all of the firewalls for our different divisions of government, to give us protection. Obviously, we have a lot of tax information, a lot of banking information that would be very valuable, for instance, to hackers. And once again, that is currently protected by any number of firewalls in different places. But cybersecurity is at the top of our list, and we're beginning to explore how to establish an IT department and get all of that information and security into one place so that it's uniform across the board, and we have very strong information technology security.
Can you explain the nationwide investment situation and why it seems to be so controversial?
Well, to the county commission's credit and the county's credit, we were sort of thrown into a difficult position by Nationwide. Nationwide was looked to in 1979, the late 1970s, their 457B plan, which was essentially a supplement plan to the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement for our employees. It's a retirement plan. Again, as a supplement, as an alternative, you can use any number of adjectives, I guess, to describe it. Essentially, it allowed the employees to set aside money out of their paycheck. It's at no cost to the taxpayers of Greene County. It's essentially a service that was offered by our payroll department that employees could use, again, as an alternate to set aside pre-tax dollars for their retirement in the future. That 457B plan had a fixed rate of return of 3.5% since its inception in 1979. Nationwide, at various times, has reassured Greene County mayors prior to me, Greene County commissions prior to this one, that 3.5% rate of return would never change. They said so as most recently as last year, or the year before, that the rate of return would not change. And this year they came up just a month or so ago and said, lo and behold, we're going to change the rate of return. As an alternative, they said, well, Greene County as the sponsor would be forced to select one of four different options for the employees' investments going forward. So the way that looks bad or reflects on us, that a lot of people are apprehensive about, is that it seems in having to select one of these options that we have become somewhat a de facto money manager, so to speak. And no one wants to be in that position. We want the employees that are invested in this plan, that believe in this plan, we want them to have all of the autonomy that they need to make their own money management choices. And we don't think that the government has really any choice in that. But once again, Nationwide is saying we have to select one of these options going forward. Even to not make a selection of one of the four options is making a choice, because there's a default option that kicks in on December 27th. So the county commission is actually considering, number one, which option to select, what the original terms of the contract were when it was established, and then whether or not to participate in the plan altogether as a sponsor. Currently, once again, no tax dollars from Greene County goes into this fund for any of our employees. They set aside that money from their paycheck. The only thing Greene County does as a service is we offer a payroll deduction just like any other employer or any other government entity would for their employees for instance, child support, investment plans, that sort of thing. That's the only service that we do for them, and that's the only plan that we do for them. So the reason that it's controversial is that we've been put in this difficult position of having to make a selection, it seems, for the employees and their investments.
Has there been any response from the state representatives or state senator about the special commissioner fees?
Not that we've received yet. Obviously, at the last meeting of the county commission, it was approved that we request from our state legislators that any special commissioner fees paid to any county office would be returned to Greene County's general fund. There's a couple of offices that we have. The Greene County Clerk's office comes to mind right away, in the fact that some of those monies have specific designations and restrictions on them that would have to be considered for this to sort of become, I guess, law or reality. So.
And go ahead and tell me what Greene County's priorities are for 2019.
Well, Reed, we've got a lot of exciting things. Pretty soon, within the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be starting the budgeting process. I can report to the people that our position with regard to money management is very strong. We've implemented great programs, if you will, to make sure that when we have to spend money, we're spending money wisely. We're not using non-recurring revenue to pay for recurring expenses. So we're not dipping into our savings account or our rainy day fund to pay for ongoing bills. That greatly affects our standing with any type of financial institution in the future. For instance, our credit rating, our smart financial management ratings given to us from the state and different organizations and agencies. Some of the priorities that we've got going forward in 2019 will be to centralize 911, is to get that firmed up and in place. There's been most recently on the radio, of course, and in the newspaper, much activity and information surrounding that. So we look forward very soon to having centralized 911, and that our 911 has been working very hard to make sure that they can begin dispatching law enforcement calls both from Greenville and Greene County on the spot. The other thing that goes sort of hand in hand or part and parcel to that is a digital radio system. The state of Tennessee has the TACN radio system. It's a digital system. Currently, the City of Greenville Police Department, the Fire Department is on that. The State of Tennessee, the Highway Patrol is on that. But Greene County is not. Our law enforcement, our sheriff. So what that does, essentially, is it doesn't allow the Greene County Sheriff's Department, our EMS department, for instance, to talk directly to Greenville or the Highway Patrol or intra-agency without having those calls relayed. So there's a definite delay. There's communication interference lots of times that doesn't allow, for instance, maybe sometimes our deputies who are out on the road, maybe in remote locations, to even have any type of communication. So from a safety perspective, they're on their own. So we're looking at getting a digital radio system that we can all talk together and mutually support one another to where that those calls don't have to be relayed. And then, again, that's part and parcel to centralized 911. So those are things that we're looking forward to. Some other things in the future, we're obviously looking at maybe some pet care ordinances, looking at how we define, for instance, an adequate animal shelter from a individual perspective. Those are some things we're looking at. Some equipment purchases, getting ready, or not getting ready, but getting more prepared as far as being able to handle our solid waste a little bit better. Our EMS, we've just recently received an ambulance. Getting those services, once again, more capable, more responsive. We sort of run on a razor's edge, if you will, from time to time with regard to those two services, and having more up-to-date equipment that's not down and under maintenance control is certainly a priority going forward. So we've got a lot of good things going on, a lot of good people working in a lot of good places. The rifle range, we've got a few punch list items down there that need to be completed before we can become fully operational. But there's a lot of people that have called my office and are looking forward to that. We will be the only place really in the region with a facility like that. Shooting teams have been interested in coming down to the range. Individuals have been, hunter safety ed. We've got some great people working down there to get that facility sort of polished in all of these sort of punch list items. The biggest one of which we've got a few electrical issues that we've got to work out. But other than that, it's nothing that we can't overcome, and we look forward to having that thing completely polished and fully operational very, very soon, as our grant deadline is September of 2019. So I want to have that facility again up and running completely without issue and bugs here in the spring and the summertime. So we really look forward to that, and that's something that our region, our county, can be proud of.
Well, I want to thank Greene County Mayor Kevin Morrison for joining us this morning, and we will return next month for another interview with him after the next commission meeting. This is Reid Seals for WGRV.